All right, we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris. This is my channel. We love comics, and this is a moment I didn't think I would be having to talk about. And I want to make it clear that I'm only talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and not collecting comics. So I'm not walking away from collecting comics. But after hearing some of the news I've been hearing about the MCU, at this point, if you can't understand that there's an agenda in Hollywood, especially with Disney, but not exclusively to Disney, um, you're just not paying attention. And the recent things that I've been hearing is they're going to make a Captain Marvel 3. Now, that movie is about to lose millions of dollars. Now, we're talking possibly hundreds of millions. They're not stupid as far as a business. You can't have that many failures and then continue to do the same thing that you know that your customer doesn't want, unless you are doing it for an alternative reason. I've heard now these could be rumors, obviously, about some of the other things, and they could change, but the fact that they even come into conversation is just sad. That there's rumors that Silver Surfer will become a woman, that the Fantastic Four is going to be led now by Sue Storm, and of course, you can't have a Caucasian straight male to play the lead part of the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards. It's just they are obviously doing this for agenda driven purposes. Because if you are a successful business like Disney once was, they would come out with good movie after good movie. Sometimes it'd be okay movies, and sometimes Disney would come out with movies that were not good. But you didn't notice 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row of movies that not only were bad, but people didn't want and despised, and they lost money on. I mean, if this was a brand new company that's never done any of this before, I might be able to see it, as they might not have been around enough to understand. But Disney is now going on its 100th year. This is not a new company. The people who've been running it have been running it for a while, albeit off and on. And for them to want to come out with Captain Marvel 3, to have Silver Surfer as a female, and have Fantastic Four be put out the way that they're saying they want to have it put out, it's just showing at this point it's not about the money. Because if you know anything about the, let's just rhyme, it rhymes with Roj Roros, because if you say the name, your video gets flagged. So if you're a Scooby-Doo fan, you know who Roj Roros is. So I'm speaking in Scooby-Doo language. And let's keep it in Scooby-Doo language. Rack Rock. They're funding these things. They're funding these agendas. So it doesn't matter how much they lose, they're getting, I guarantee you, they're getting money on the back end. And they care more about these agendas. Now, if we put our money into these things, then we are saying to these companies, it doesn't matter if we complain. It doesn't matter if we're unhappy. Doesn't matter if you take their products that you already purchased and rip them up or burn them up and make a video saying how much you hate it. If you continue to give them your money, you're saying that you're still involved, even if it's in a negative way. Because remember, they say there is no negative press. As far as comic books are concerned, I'm not ever going to buy, as long as Disney owns Marvel and they continue these agendas, I will never buy a new comic. I'm going to stick with my Bronze, Silver Age, Copper Age, Golden Age, and let's say Modern Age from about 2017 and older. Any of the new stuff that's coming out, I'm not giving them a dime. As far as movies, you notice I haven't done any reviews of any of these movies. Could I have gotten lots of views from them? Absolutely. Could I have gotten maybe some ad revenue? Absolutely. But it doesn't mean that much to me. I did a post about 3 weeks ago saying I wouldn't be surprised. I don't remember what I exactly said, but basically saying I think the majority of people that went to go see the Marvels movie were reviewers. That it's more important for them to get their views and make their money than to say, you know what, I am not going to financially contribute to an agenda-driven narrative and support them with my hard-earned money. So as far as I'm concerned, hearing this news, and again, it could be rumor. It could be changed. It could be people just putting out stuff just to get headlines. Who knows? But we have to go based on, especially Disney's recent track record, how they've destroyed Star Wars and heroes like Luke Skywalker, how they've destroyed the MCU. Remember just 10 years ago, less than 10 years ago, where Marvel movies were a must-see. You didn't miss any of them, including the Disney Plus shows. I don't see these movies anymore. Why would I waste my money on this garbage? Now, if you like it, that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to say, just because I'm thinking a certain way, you have to. My channel has never been about, I am doing something so you have to too, and if you don't, then you're wrong. I'm not about that. But I think if you want things to improve, you have to stop giving your hard-earned currency to these companies who really do not care about you. They will tell you they care about you when their movie's about to debut. They will tell you how exciting it's going to be when their movie's ready to come out. But once they got your money, they don't care. Actors are basically paid liars. They're paid to lie. They're paid to exaggerate. Do you think anyone is going to tell you about a movie they're in, or producing, or editing, or what have you, writing? You think they're going to say anything bad about that movie or TV show? If anything, even if they wanted to, they're most likely contractually obligated to say nothing but nice things and promote. Because if you don't, you won't get invited back to the movie, to make the next movie or the next TV show. And people, sadly, this day and age, care more about money than they do their own integrity and principle. So, if you are like me, and you are tired of what is now obviously a propaganda, agenda-driven narrative, if you want it to ever change, you have to stop giving them your money. Plain and simple. It will never change. I mean, look at what happened with, and we'll go with the Scooby-Doo language, Rudd Right. A alcoholic beverage called Rudd Right. People were burning the cans, smashing the bottles, shooting them with guns. But you know what they all have in common? They were already bought and paid for to where Anheuser-Busch already had your money. Which, by the way, that company, because they keep saying it's an American beverage, it used to be. It was sold to either, I think, a Danish or Swedish, somewhere around there, company. It's no longer American-owned. It hasn't been for about a decade or so. So it's not even an American beverage. Now, I'm not saying that you can't enjoy this stuff. If you do, more power to you. But I'm talking for those who can see things differently. If this stuff is not okay with you, because it's just going to continue to get worse. And when they say things like, oh, like for example, the Marvels, the critics and the Hollywood elitists will say, oh, I guess you don't like women. Well, Did anyone have a problem with the Scarlet Witch? With Black Widow? What about with the X-Men that came out over 10 years ago? What about characters like Storm and Rogue and Jean Grey? No one had a problem with them. You can't pick and choose. And I'm sorry, I am not going to give my money to companies that are going to say, if I don't agree with their narrative, then that means I'm either racist, or I can't even say it because Scooby-Doo would say it, racist, Romarobic. That's Scooby-Doo language. We should all speak in Scooby-Doo language. I mean, just imagine if you went to a restaurant and they overcooked the food, they didn't put enough seasoning on it, there's hair in the food, the cook sneezed in it, and you complain and they attack you, not physically, but call you names. How dare you not like my food that I made? You see how ridiculous that sounds? You'd never go back to that place again. But yet, for some reason, there are some people, because they get the free tickets, they get the 30,000, 40,000 views, they make the revenue, that they are willing to look away time and time again for their own pocketbooks to be lined. And until those people grow some resticles, both male and female, because, by the way, there are only 2 renders, nothing's going to change. So, as of now, I am not going to spend a dime on the MCU, on any brand new comic book. I'm not going to go see Deadpool 3, and I wanted to, but I guarantee you they're gonna do something. They're just going to hide it. But I want to ask anybody out there, if you owned the Disney Corporation and you're putting out movie after movie that is losing money, would you continue to do what you're doing if you cared about the stockholders and your business? Would you keep doing it? Because remember, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I think those people may be insane, but for different reasons. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. Now, again, I am not here to tell you how to think, what to feel, what to do. Because if you loved the Marvels, congratulations, and I'm not going to insult you. I am not going to ban you or banish you. I'm not going to prohibit you from speaking. If you honestly love that movie, not because you got paid to say it, or not because it'll bring traffic to your YouTube channel, but you actually watched it and can honestly say that that was a great movie, more power to you. But the money from the box office tells you everything that you need to know. Because remember, I think it made, last time I checked, maybe 189 million total worldwide. Remember, about half of that goes to the movie theater. And then you also have to remember all the budget for the advertising. Because even though they did cat videos, which was really pathetic, it still costs money. So, can anybody out there explain how a Captain Marvel 3 is justified? And you know who I feel bad for? I feel bad for stockholders. Now, I'm not talking about the ones that jumped in recently. I have zero stock in Disney. Never had it, never will. I'm talking about the people that maybe bought stock 6, 7 years ago, 10 years ago. and they've been holding on to it. I feel sorry for people like that, who got bamboozled and lied to by people who care more about agendas. Movies used to be entertainment. When I was a teenager into my 20s and 30s, going to the movies was an event. I still remember the Thursday midnight of Batman 89. They didn't call it Batman 89 back then, but in 1989, they had a sneak preview at midnight for the first Batman movie. And me and my friends stood out for hours in line. I remember seeing Star Wars as a kid, the original Star Wars, you know, the good ones. They used to be events, especially Disney movies. You always looked forward to the next Disney movie. Can you honestly say you're looking forward to the next Disney movie? Subjecting kids to this garbage? Now again, you have the right to your belief. But you know what? Disney should make a separate system for those who have alternative viewpoints. You can't just take straight white characters and change them into gay female characters and expect the people who love those original characters to not be at the very least disappointed. And it goes both ways. I don't want to see a man play Wonder Woman because it's Wonder Woman. I don't want to see a white guy play Blade because Blade was black. I forget the character's name from Alpha Flight. I think it was either issue 106 or 109, one of the two. But had the first gay character back in the 90s. I don't want to see a straight person play that character because they were created to be that way. I don't want to see a white guy play Miles Morales. So I go both ways when it comes to it's either do all the right way or do none of it the right way. You can't just change one and then call people racist or homophobic or rexist because you don't like what they're doing. And then they make fun of you and then they attack you. The MCU is dead. Now, I'm not telling anybody to walk away with me. And like I said, I'm going to stick with my old school books, like you see on the bottom of the screen scrolling by. I'm looking to make trades. I got contacted by Alex the Comic Quarter the other day. He messaged me and he was showing some books that he's looking at. I would love to get my hands on his Journey into Mystery 83, but he hasn't contacted me. I mean, I got plenty of books that, even ones that I didn't list in that video, that I might consider trading for that book. Hope he gets in contact with me. But I just think there is nothing that warrants a Captain Marvel 3. People don't like the character. I didn't watch the movie, and I'm never going to, but I've seen plenty of reviews on it, so I've seen plenty of screenshots, and I've heard from plenty of people that are not paid to just say nice things. The character does not look, the villain does not look intimidating. I mean, just having a face that looks like somebody just put their cold hands on your back does not make you a scary character. Not intimidating at all. Most people who are outside of the comic book community will have no idea who the main characters are. And let's not forget, Captain Marvel started out as a white man. People seem to forget that. It wasn't until 1978 that Carol Danvers became Captain Marvel, or Miss Marvel. I don't know what they had at the time. I think it was Miss Marvel. And then in 2009, I believe, became Captain Marvel. But the original Captain Marvel was a white male. But you can't have that anymore these days. And that's only because we're allowing it. And you don't have to burn down the streets, which is something I highly recommend nobody does. You don't have to become violent. You don't have to make threats. You just have to not give them the little green paper notes that are called fiat currency. Look it up if you don't know what that means. And you don't have to hand them those pieces of paper. And if enough people did that, they would either go out of business or they would change their business. And until the people that make their living off of reviewing this garbage decide to grow a backbone and say, you know what, I'm willing to risk my free basket of goodies to keep my integrity, so maybe my family and friends and maybe children would actually be proud of what I do instead of ashamed or embarrassed, then these things are not going to change. So they're going to probably make Captain Marvel's 3. It wouldn't shock me. They're probably going to make Silver Surfer, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make Doctor Doom either a African American male or female, or both. Don't forget, as South Park said, make them female, make them lame and gay. And there's nothing wrong with somebody who is gay. But I don't need to have to be forced or insulted if I don't agree with it or don't want to watch it or be a part of it. Go do you. You be who you want to be. I don't force my agenda on anybody. So why does anybody have the right to force their agenda on us? So I'm walking away from the MCU until the MCU is sold to another company who actually has passion for the characters. Because there is no comic book fatigue. I hear that all the time, and that is ridiculous. If you love something and that thing you love continually comes out with things that are fun and exciting and entertaining, you're going to keep going forever. You're telling me if you're, let's just say, a guy and a drop-dead gorgeous model wants to have relations with you, are you going to tell me after 20, 30, 40 times, you're going to be like, oh, I'm so tired of this. This drop-dead, beautiful, gorgeous model wants to have relations with me all the time. I'm so tired of that. Really? There is no comic book fatigue. What people are tired of is the agenda-driven garbage that's being rammed down our throats all the time, insulting a certain race, ethnicity, sexual preference. Two wrongs don't make a right. If people didn't like when other people turned other races or other creeds or other religions or whatever down, I can understand that. But if you do what they did, then you are no better. You can't be righteous by putting your foot and stomping somebody else down to make yourself feel better. That's not righteousness. That's oppression. You cannot lift yourself up by putting other people down. And that is what Hollywood is doing. That is what Disney's doing. And I'm not just saying Disney, but this is a comic book channel. I loved going to the movies and watching the MCU. I no longer love it. I no longer have faith that Disney will turn it around. And I wanted to see Deadpool 3. And you know what? Maybe if it comes out on free TV eventually, I'll watch it 5-10 years from now. But I'm not giving him a dime. And I'd love to know anyone that agrees with me who is not afraid to mention it in the comment section to share their advice. Even if you disagree. You don't have to agree with everything I say. But you have the right to say it here and you will not be attacked by it. As a matter of fact, if any of my subscribers or viewers insult you because you might honestly say that you watched the Marvels, for example, and you loved it, I will not stand for them insulting you because you have the right to love something, even if everybody else doesn't. But what you don't have the right to do is force other people to have to like it because you do. So I'm walking away from the MCU. I'm probably the DCU too. And I'll be greater for it. The sad thing is, the things that made us happy are slowly disappearing. And I think there's a reason for that. And I think that's a shame. But I want to thank the 17 people that were kind enough to watch this, 14 of which hit the like button. And I didn't even ask anybody to do that. So that should tell you that even though I don't get thousands of views, the majority of people agree with what I'm saying. And this isn't about popularity. It's about putting your foot down and not taking this garbage. That's all I can stand, and I can't stand no more. So, you look out the window and scream out, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. And the only way you can do that is by keeping your fiat dollars in your bank account, in your wallet, and in your pocketbook. The moment you give it to them is the moment they continue to do what you say you don't agree with. Thanks for listening. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for joining the live chat, and I look forward to hearing your comments. Don't be afraid. It's time to stand up for what you believe in. You live your life in fear, you'll always have something to be afraid of. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, it's not you, it's not I, it's we love golden, silver, bronze, copper, and some of the modern comics. Not this new garbage.